Hey guys, it's Dr. Nate here, Thrive Dental and Orthodontics, and today is going to be a little bit different. I've been getting this question asked to me all the time, and I feel like I need to motivate some people. I get this question almost every day, it seems like, and there's tons of people who are saying, hey, they're in high school, they're in college, they're in middle school, they're somewhere, but they just don't feel like they're doing that well in school or doing that well in their life. And so they're kind of getting discouraged and thinking that they can't become an orthodontist. And I am here to tell you that that is not the case. All right, guys, so I want to kind of just walk you through a little bit. I don't have notes here, so hopefully I don't ramble too much. But I want to walk you through how I became an orthodontist. So people might think like, hey, you must have got straight A's, been top of your class, been like the perfect student, was always top, always the best, and that's how you became an orthodontist. And that's not necessarily true. So I did pretty well in high school. I got honors, nothing special. I was like, getting 80% and 85s and 90s or whatever. Doing pretty decent. But then when I got to college, my first 2 years, I sucked. It was tough. The transition from high school to college was a little bit tough for me. You don't have you don't have teachers there trying to push you, making sure you're doing all your homework, making sure that you're turning in your homework. College was way different. Plus I was playing sports, so it was even more different. I was waking up, I'd have to do a practice in the morning, then I'd go to school, and then I'd have another practice, and then do a little bit more homework. And honestly, I just kind of let it kind of fall apart a little bit. So I really sucked on some subjects. My English subject wasn't good. I had a couple other subjects where I was honestly just kind of getting by. And I actually remember talking to my parents, and my dad's a physician, and I told them, I was like, hey, you know what? I'm not gonna be able to do this because I don't have good enough grades. I'm not smart enough. There's so many people that are smarter than me. And he just basically he's always giving me the kind of same advice where he says, just to work hard and have fun. And that is really all we can do. So I basically kind of buckled down a little bit, and I realized that, hey, maybe I shouldn't be going out as much as I was, or maybe I should kind of focus in on school and maybe let sports kind of take a little bit of a back seat a little bit. And that's when I started to focus in a little bit more. But my first choice was not dentistry. My dad was a physician, so I felt like, hey, I kind of needed to follow his footsteps. And I took the MCAT, which for you who don't know this, MCAT is basically the entrance exam to medical school. And I studied nonstop for like 2 or 3 months, my whole summer. I think it was in between my second and third year. I studied nonstop, and I mean like wake up, study all day. And it was rough, So then I ended up taking the tests at the end of the summer. So I basically spent the whole summer studying, and I got my results back, and it was like, it was mediocre. It was kind of okay. And that combined with my first couple years of bad grades, I was just like, I'm done. Like I didn't think I had a choice. But that's when I kind of actually started to realize that maybe medicine wasn't for me. I started taking these tests. I looked at medicine's lifestyle. My dad is an amazing person, but he was working like crazy. If you're on call, you can get called at all hours. Still now he gets called at 1, 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. And he's a radiologist, which is one of the better medical jobs. But you're still getting called at night. And so I kind of realized like, hey, I'm working hard, not doing that well, but maybe medicine isn't for me. So luckily my dad had a friend who was a dentist, and I shadowed him, and I was like, hey, this could be a good job, this could be good. And that kind of gave me that little extra push. I was like, okay, this is getting me like a little bit more excited about school, a little bit more excited, maybe I can do this. And then so I decided to study hard, hard. I was studying, and my grades kept getting better and better and better. And I started getting honors and getting 4s and A pluses and all this good stuff that I needed in order to get in. And what I did not know at the time, and what a lot of people don't know, is that most schools are kind of looking at your past couple years. A lot of people know that the first year or two, you're not going to be on your best. You're not going to be your best. So when I ended up studying and started doing better and better, that gave me the ability to potentially get in. But it was not that easy. So with dentistry, it's kind of similar. You need to take a DAT exam, which is just the entrance exam to get into dentistry. So a lot of the programs will look at your overall GPA. They'll look at, if you volunteer, if you're in sports, if you have any other extracurriculars that you're doing well in. and they will also look at your DAT score. So I knew I needed to do well on that, but it did not turn out how I thought. In Canada, you take, I believe it's like a kind of like a reading comprehension, and there's like this kind of math, biology portion, and then there's a carving portion. And if you are not in Canada, you probably think this is really weird, but as Canadians know that that is a part of the DAT. I don't know if it still is, but it was 15 years ago, or maybe more than that years ago now. But you basically carve this little piece of soap, and with that, they give you these dimensions. They say, okay, carve a triangle into the soap, or carve a rectangle, or carve something, but it's very specific on the dimensions. So they'll say, do a 10 millimeter by 10 millimeter by blah, blah, blah millimeter. And so I was reading the test, and of course you're nervous and you're trying your best. I'm doing my carving. I'm like, this looks really good. And after every round you get to like take a break and talk to other people. So we took a break, and I was talking to other people, and I was like, hey, I think it went really well. And at that time, all the numbers because you just got out of there. And they told me the numbers of the different sides. And I immediately knew I messed up. I knew that I misread one of the numbers, and I knew because I misread one single number that was probably 2 or 3 seconds of my life, that would change my life forever. So what happened was I got my grades back, everything went well, minus the carving portion because I messed up on it. And the Canadian schools are no joke. You cannot mess up on one part. And I knew I was screwed. So in Canada, you can't necessarily take the DAT over again. You can't just take it right again. Like I can't take it today and then a week or 2 or 3 later take it again. In Canada, I had to wait 6 months to take the test again. So by the time I take the test, it's starting to get really late into the application cycle. I didn't get my results back until I think it was around March. And if you are applying for dental school, you know how late this is. Most people have already put in their applications and are done in August. So I'm way behind the 8 ball. I'm way behind. So I applied to the Canadian schools, and they immediately tell me, too bad, we're not taking your second DAT score. We're taking the first one, and basically you're not going to make it. So I kind of started to freak out, and I applied to 2 schools. I applied to Boston, and I applied to USC in Los Angeles. And luckily, by that point, my GPA had gone better. I had, some other experiences. I was in athletics, I was volunteering, and my second DAT score was good. And thank God, both schools took my second DAT score, and I got into both. And then I just decided I had to try sunny Los Angeles rather than cold Boston, although it could have been awesome in Boston too. But I tried LA. And I just kind of go through this story just to let you know that it's not like everything was this perfect and amazing and great, and I got straight A's and I was an honor student, and I got into whatever school I wanted, and life was hunky-dory. It was really hard. But not only was that part hard, I was in the same position a lot of you guys are right now. When I got into dental school, you're surrounded by, it's hard to get into college. Once you get into college, it's even harder to get into dental school because only a certain percentage of those people get into dental school. So you're surrounded by very smart people, people that are naturally pretty smart, and they work hard. And so I was thinking, hey, I barely got into this. Like, how am I going to possibly, excel at this level and then get into orthodontics? Because ortho is really hard to get into. Most of the time, you have to be the top couple percent of your class. So I was getting discouraged too. I thought, there's no chance. I'm not going to get into this. It's not going to work. Let's give up. There's no point. But, I kind of kept trucking along. Dental school was going good. And then there's one really important test at that time. Now it's actually not as important, but at that time, it was basically the make or break for you. If you did well on, it's called Boards Part 1 in dental school, you have a great chance of getting in. But, I still had this kind of belief, which is a terrible limiting belief. And I'm trying to get this through to you guys, that is a terrible limiting belief, that I could not do it. I wasn't smart enough. Everybody else was smarter, and that is a terrible limiting belief. But I studied my butt off. I don't think I've ever studied. I definitely know I have not studied that hard for a test ever in my life. I spent 6 to 8 months every single day. Maybe I take a day off here and there, studying for at least, I started at roughly 4 to 5 hours a day. By the last 2 months going into the test, I was studying 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 11 hours every day before the test. I wanted to know this stuff so good. I knew the material so well. And then I got to the test and I did really well on the test. And I knew at that point, oh my gosh, like I have a shot at this. You know, this is kind of crazy. I have a shot at ortho. And of course I did the other things. I started to volunteer a little bit. I did some research. My research was not very good, but I did some research and then I got into ortho. So once again, I kind of go through this story and it's kind of a long story, but I go through it to let you know that it's never just like a straight road. You know, I had so many ups and downs, that it's just nice to hear it from somebody else's point of view to be, you know, where I'm at now. So now we have multiple offices. I'm owner or part owner of 6 offices, going to be 7 and 8 soon here. And I never kind of thought that it could get to this point. And I had these limiting beliefs that I didn't know were holding me back a little bit. So I hope this gives you guys a little bit of hope, because I know I've been giving lots of feedback to people who are mainly discouraged. I mean, doesn't seem like any people are just like, yeah, cool, I'm going to be an ortho, I love it, like I'm easily going to do it. Everybody's kind of like discouraged, thinking that, hey, they're not smart enough, they're not doing well enough in school, they don't come from the right background, they don't have the right family, they don't have the right connections. This is my kind of hope and plea to you guys to kind of keep going forward and keep having hope. And if you want to become an ortho, if you want to get into dental school, you can do it. And it's not going to be super easy, because if it was easy, everyone would do it. But there is hope for you, even if you've had a mess up here and there, because I would say every one of my friends who's an ortho had something crazy happen to them earlier and they thought they weren't going to be an orthodontist. Matter of fact, some of the most successful dentists I know did not get into dental school on their first try. That is bonkers, right? They didn't get into dental school, but then they finally get in, they become a dentist, and they are uber successful, very, very successful. So there's always hope. So there you go, guys, have it. That is kind of my intro. That is kind of how I got to this point. Even after ortho, there's a lot of struggle to become an owner and all these other things. So just keep on plowing through, keep trying hard. And thank you so much for watching. If you have any value in this channel, please subscribe. You know I'm putting out videos weekly, and I will talk to you guys soon.